Hello, and Shabbat Shalom, happy holidays. It's Sir Cantor Doug, with another episode of Ami's Festival Holiday Theater. Tonight's episode involves an evil king and a small jar of oil. Sounds intriguing, doesn't it? Well, let's get into it, shall we? Once upon a time, in a land not so far away, and not so long ago, about 2,000 years, give or take a century, the Jewish people lived in the land of Israel. They had a glorious temple in the city of Jerusalem, where they would worship God in all of God's glorious glory. But the Jews were not in charge. The land in which they had lived for centuries was ruled by an evil king of Syria, and his name was Antiochus.
I do not believe in the God of the Jews. I believe in other gods, like Zeus and Hercules and Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson. So, we need a new law. I, Antiochus, hereby decree that everyone has to worship only my gods. No other gods, no exceptions, nada, none, zip. You are forbidden to worship your hoity-toity, oh-so-special Jewish God because your God is not special. My gods are beyond super special. Awesome, even. So I, Antiochus, hereby and henceforth and with all the power I have vested in myself, command you to worship my gods alone, no exceptions, nada, none, zip, end of decree. Sorry, not sorry.
Ooh, but life became very difficult now for the Jews. People who did not follow this law were kicked out of the kingdom. The ones who stayed were unable to go into the beautiful temple. They could not read from the Torah, or even eat matzah balls or challah. They knew Antiochus, that his long list of gods had nothing whatsoever to do with Judaism. They knew there was only one God for the Jews. They grumbled. They harumphed. Oh boy! This made the king very mad. He drew up another decree.
I, the great and powerful Antiochus. What is that? Do hereby order my strapping, stalwart Syrian stormtroopers to despoil, dismantle, and discombobulate the objectionable, obnoxious, and odious Jewish temple. Like that alliteration? I wrote it myself. Rock it, sock it, knock it down, take all the goodies mine now, my precious end of decree. Ha ha ha, na 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 na.
Oh boy, things got tough, even tougher for the Jews, worser and worser. But in the small town of Modi'in, there lived, I like that, Modi'in, there lived the Maccabee family. Mattathias and his wife, Mati, and 5 sons, Yochanan, Simon, Judah, Eliezer, and Jonathan. One day, the Syrian soldiers arrived in Modi'in to force the Jews to bow down to Antiochus. This, of course, was forbidden in Judaism. Mati and her sons absolutely refused.
Enough!
So, Judah gathered his brothers and sisters and his strongest friends together, and they began to fight back. With each battle, this small but mighty army kept winning, hurrah, against the larger and stronger Syrian soldiers. Judah and the Maccabees were so successful that they soon drove Antiochus out to the land and they reclaimed the holy temple.
No! I'm
After reclaiming the temple, the Maccabees had a lot of cleaning up to do, as you would imagine. The temple was absolutely gross and filthy.
OMG, this place is a mess. It's even worse than my room. I'll never be able to clean up all this stuff. This is impossible.
Now, Judah, don't be so discouraged.
But I don't even know where or how to begin.
I hear you. Do you remember when you were 12 and starting to work on your bar mitzvah? Remember how hard you thought everything was? And remember how Diane and Cantor Doug and Rabbi Julia and Rabbi Paul? Wait, where did that picture come from? That's better. And Rabbi Paul helped you? Remember how you learned a little each day?
Yeah, maybe.
Exactly. Well, same thing here. Let's just start with one corner of the temple and clean that up, okay?
But it's so dark in there. They destroyed all the lamps and the oil. All we have left is a single lamp and one tiny jar of oil. It won't be enough.
I hear you again. But remember how you defeated the huge Syrian army with a small army? You were enough. You are enough.
Yeah, I did start with just one small group of soldiers, and we outlasted and beat them.
Exactly. So just light that one jar of oil and start cleaning. One step at a time, one day at a time.
So, Judah and the Maccabees started cleaning up the temple. They rededicated the temple to the values and traditions of Judaism. Technically, it was modeled after the celebration of Sukkot, a festival they were unable to observe during the fighting, but that's a teaching for another time. Anyway, amazingly, and to their great surprise, the oil kept burning night after night after night. Miraculously, the light lasted throughout their entire 8-day cleanup. And all the Jews were able to worship again in their beautiful Jerusalem Holy Temple. So, after Judah and the Maccabees had risen up and defeated the mighty Syrian army led by Antiochus, they rededicated the temple. In fact, they held a great ceremony, which we call Chanukah Habayit, a rededication of God's home. And, my friends, that concludes our story of Hanukkah for this evening. Tune in next time when we'll tell the story of planting trees on Tu B'Shvat. Ta-ta!